What's up, Ravens fans? The draft is almost here. We can't wait for Thursday night. And there's lots to discuss about what the Ravens could do this year, particularly at number 28, their first round pick. They could go a number of different directions, and they have several priorities that they could address in the first round. So to discuss those priorities, let's go ahead and welcome in Ryan Mink, Clifton Brown, and John Eisenberg. And Eisenberg, I want to give you first crack at this. What do you think is the Ravens' biggest priority that they need to address in this year's draft?
Well, a lot of people probably want me to say wide receiver. I don't know that that's it. They certainly could use one. I see it as more of a two-position race, inside linebacker and offensive line. And it's close. Offensive line obviously needs to be upgraded, especially with Metzger injured, with Marshall Yonder retiring. However, I think it loses out to inside linebacker for the main reason is Ravens don't have any. I mean, that's a position, well, they do, but they have a lot of young. I mean, they have not necessarily starters. L.J. Fort, Patero Alaka, Chris Board. I mean, that is a position where they're really lacking and could use just a big stud in the middle of their defense. And so I see that as the biggest position of need narrowly over offensive line.
So what do you think, Mink? Do you see it the same way? Are you going with linebacker as a top priority?
You know, I'm going to go the other way. I'll go offensive line. And really, to me, it's not so much about center. I'm not really worried too much about center. I think Patrick McCary played really well last year, stepping in for Matt Skura, and it looks like Skura is going to be back. To me, it's that right guard spot. I mean, when you look at it, Marshall Yanda was arguably the best blocker on that line. Now, he's got some competition with Ronnie Stanley and Orlando Brown, but a Hall of Fame blocker, when you take him out of the equation, as much as the Ravens run the ball, and as much as they want to protect Lamar Jackson, that's critical if he's going to progress as a passer. I think you have to find somebody for that right guard spot. I just don't know that the draft is going to fall the way that the Ravens want in terms of getting somebody in the first round, but I still think priority-wise that makes the most sense is to shore up offensive line.
And Cliff, go ahead and put on your GM hat here. You know, if Eric DeCosta calls you Thursday morning and says, what do I need to do in the first round here, where are you going?
I'd say offensive line is the top priority. However, I would say if either Queen or Murray is available, I would take them over the offensive lineman. I think there are two unique players. There aren't that many inside linebackers who can cover receivers and play the run well. Those two guys are really good at both. If either one of them happen to fall, I would take one of them. If not, then I would go with an offensive lineman at 28 if you think he's truly a number one worthy pick and a guy who could start or compete to start this year. And then also I would say pass rush. I would not eliminate that. If there's someone at 28 you think, let me be conservative, could get you 6 sacks next year, I would go that way too. So offensive line first, but if Queen or Murray's there, that's my pick. And then after that, if all that's gone, maybe the pass rusher.
Cliff is hedging all bets here.
Yeah, exactly. Cliff gave me, it was hard to follow. I need to get out a chalkboard to kind of follow all these different scenarios. If this guy's here, if not, then this could happen. How about this? None of you guys mentioned this. I listened to what John Harbaugh said during the pre-draft press conference, which is replacing Marshall Yanda and upgrading that offensive line is probably priority number 1 or number 2. So let's just go ahead. He brought it up. It's probably priority number 1. So I'm going to go ahead and point to that. You know, that's the biggest loss that the Ravens had this offseason, is losing a Hall of Fame player on the offensive line who was still playing at a really high level. So finding somebody to step into that spot, and maybe it's some Ben Powers, you know, somebody who's already on the team, but I think that finding somebody who you could be potentially a plug-and-play starter in the first round or the second round, the first 2 days of the draft, I think that's top priority. But I do agree with what Cliff is kind of saying here, which is I don't necessarily think it will be in the first round, while I do think it is the top priority. I'm just curious quickly for you guys, do you see it that same way, that even if offensive line or linebacker is the position that you think is most important to address, do you think that the Ravens have to do it in the first round?
No, I mean, there's a couple positions. I think you can get a starting caliber inside linebacker day 2, pretty early in day 2, I think. I think that's probably true at both places. I mean, you can get starting caliber, you know, Cesar Ruiz, right? I mean, you know, who knows where he's, whether it be in the first round or second round. But I mean, there's guys you can get in those positions. I think first round or second round and get a starter.
Yeah, I think it really makes sense for the Ravens to find value in the second round at offensive line. You know, at the end of the first, it's really one guy, like John mentioned, Cesar Ruiz. Is the value matching up at number 28 there? Or is he a high second round pick that you could trade back potentially and pick him? Or is it somebody later in the second round that you could pick? Like a Robert Hunt. That's my guy. That's my guy, Garrett. Robert Hunt. So I think it makes a lot of sense for the Ravens to go defensive, maybe at 28 if they're going to stay there, and then address offensive line in the second round.
Well, there's lots of things to discuss over the course of the next few days. We have more videos like this planned. We're going to give you our final predictions for what the Ravens will do at 28 and also talk about some of the shocking or surprise scenarios that could unfold on draft weekend. And also, I want to make sure you know about the virtual draft experience that we have planned for all 3 days of the draft on our app, our website, and our social media platforms. It's going to be a really cool way to bring you into everything that's happening on draft weekend. One of the things we have planned is a live Q&A with head coach John Harbaugh on Friday afternoon. Obviously, you don't want to miss that. That's going to be at 1 p.m. But that's just one of the many things we have planned, so stay tuned for all of that. That virtual draft experience is something you don't want to miss. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow.